this is Tim Pierce. I cannot play that the same way twice. No matter what, something different always pops out. Thanks so much for your support. Thanks for subscribing on YouTube. If you click the link below, you'll have access to a private collection of videos, including a breakdown of the licks I just played before I started the intro. Let's find our way into this first phrase. What's going on here is basically he's just walking up to an F note chromatically. So the actual anchor for both phrases is the F note, which is the key of the song. And if you use it, if you just demonstrate on one string what he's doing, it's pretty easy to visualize. He's just literally walking up 2 frets below and then 1 fret below chromatically to the tonic. And then everything else is just notes that happen around that. So the destination for the low phrase is, let's see, the 5th string on the 8th fret here. And the destination for the high phrase is the 3rd string on the 10th fret. So let's start. What I'm doing is I'm kind of barring just an E flat chord, an E chord, and an F chord. But I'm doing just the bottom 4 strings basically. And it's kind of indistinct what he's actually grabbing. It might be 3 strings, might be 2 strings, or it might be 4. I can't really tell, but I just know it sounds good to aim for 4 strings. And what that is your index finger barring on the 6th fret across the strings 5 and 6, and then your 3rd finger barring on the 8th fret across strings 3 and 4. So you strike, grabbing all 4 strings with a downstroke on your right hand, and you just walk up. And to me that sounds great, whether he's doing 2 notes or 3 notes or all 4 notes. Suit yourself and maybe you can discover it, because I can't really tell exactly what he's doing. Moving on to the next part of the phrase, we're essentially doing the same thing, but we're putting the 3rd in the bass. The way we achieve this is take your index finger on the 8th fret and we're barring it across strings 3, 4, and 5. See that right there? All the way across. Just mash it down. Not too hard, but enough to grab all 3 strings. And then you're going to do a hammer-on 2 frets higher, only on the 5th string, and that's with your 3rd finger. You strike the 3 strings and then sound the note 2 frets above on the 5th string with your 3rd finger by hammering on. You want it to be equal volume, you want it to be confident. And then you slide this phrase up 1 fret and then 1 more fret. So just gently lift your fingers off the string, but try not to leave a gap. That's one of the secrets not so much talked about. Is doing it smoothly with no gaps. And of course it makes sense when you hear it. And once again, it's an E flat chord and an E chord and an F chord with the 3rd in the bass. And then all we do is repeat again. Once again, very legato, connected and smooth. Moving on to the next phrase, we take our index finger on the 10th fret, strings 4 and 5, and we bar it. And then with our 3rd finger, we're going to do a hammer-on on string 5 only, up to the 12th fret. And with our right hand, we're going to do a couple of downstrokes, just on those 2 strings. And then we take our index finger over to the next 2 strings, see that right there? We're going to bar strings 3 and 4. And then we do a hammer-on in the same fashion, with our 3rd finger up to the 12th fret. So to back up, and all downstrokes over here with the right hand. And then we finish out the phrase by releasing our 3rd finger, striking strings 3 and 4 with the barred index finger on the 10th fret, and 1 more little stab here, strings 5 and 6, with the 3rd finger 12th fret, 5th string, and the index finger 10th fret, 4th string. So that whole series. So there's a bit of repetition in these first 2 phrases. And it happens really fast. So try and get it up to speed as best you can. Now we'll start the verse with the C bar chord. I like to do it with a little finger rather than the third finger, but whatever you prefer is fine for this bar chord. I take my index finger on the 3rd fret, 5th string, grab that note, and then I bar across strings 2, 3, and 4 at the 5th fret with my little finger. Like I said, you can use your 3rd finger, but I like the little one. So I do it with 2 strikes on the right hand, and then I mute. And the way I mute is with my left hand. I just staccato, and then the left hand mutes all of these strings gently just by resting just really lightly on top of the neck and the strings. Strike that C chord, then walk down and strike the B flat chord, which is index finger on the 1st fret, 5th string, and then your other finger, my 4th finger, barred across strings 2, 3, and 4 on the 3rd fret. So these two chords, once again, mute, mute, and then we grab this great F chord, and I use my thumb to grab the low E string on the 1st fret, so it creates an F note, and I use my index finger on the 1st and 2nd strings on the 1st fret, barred. I leave the G string open, and then my other 2 remaining fingers are on the 3rd fret, 4th and 5th strings. So this is how it looks. I'll go grab there, my index finger, 1st fret, G string remains open, little finger and 3rd finger on the 3rd fret, 4th and 5th strings, and then curl your thumb over and grab the low F on the 1st fret. And then what you do is a hammer-on with your remaining 2nd finger that's available. And it's that kind of a phrase. Now, if you can't grab this thumb over the neck thing, just grab an F chord and strum it. And that'll be fine. Let's do this series. And for me, it's really important to mute when you go, because that's part of the sound. And once again, that's just my left hand, just gently muting all the strings with every available finger. You're still keeping the chord shape, but you're muting. And then over here, I do this upstroke, but it's pretty loose and free, so do it the way you want. So now we do a repeat, sort of. We play the C chord, but then we go into a riff. And what we're doing, we plant our index finger on the 3rd fret, 4th and 5th strings, and we'll do a little bit of a bar, and we play this little phrase. And what we're doing is kind of the same thing we did earlier in the song, where we're playing the chord, but we're doing the 3rd in the bass. So check this out. Index finger, 4th string, 3rd fret, and then just roll it over to the 5th string, 3rd fret, and do a little hammer-on with your 3rd finger up to the 5th fret. So play those 2 notes, and then another hammer-on there. Very similar to the phrase that we got into the song with. Something like that. And then we land on the F chord shape, and then we play this phrase up here, which is the index finger barred across the first 2 strings, and we do a hammer-on here. And it's a hammer-on with a mute. So the hammer-on is basically only on 1 string. It's on the B string, 2nd string, walking up. The mute, and then we restrike the barred index finger. Now I played that a little different on the intro, but this is more true to the record. I just listened to the record. One more time. The next cycle starts just the same, with this C chord. But what he does is he walks down and puts a chromatic note in between, a B note. So all you have to do is drop it back 1 fret to the 2nd fret and put it between the 2 chords. And now we hit this F chord, but it's kind of vague. He just kind of strums through it. So it's up to you. Do it the way you feel. a little up-down strumming with your right hand. And this one you can grab the traditional way if you want. Now in the intro, I did this, which happens later in the song, but I liked it so much I wanted to move it forward to make it part of the intro. And if you want to do that, it's pretty cool. It's a C chord. Take your third finger, 10th fret, 4th string. That's your anchor. Then second finger on the 3rd string on the 9th fret. And then barred index finger, like we've been doing a lot in this, across the 1st and 2nd strings on the 8th fret. You grab that shape, which is a familiar C shape coming from this. You strike it and walk it down chromatically. And then the third time, as you're walking down chromatically, you add in your little finger on this high note right here. It's the 1st string on the 8th fret. So check it out, it's pretty unique. And then go down and just strum out the F chord. So the record is. And what I did was. So now we're in the home stretch. We're going to grab a G chord, but it's just a piece of the G chord. Take your 3rd finger on the 4th string, 5th fret. That's our anchor note. 2nd finger on the 3rd string, 4th fret, and index finger on the 2nd string, 3rd fret. We get the shape of the G chord. It's this G chord right here that's familiar, but it's just these 3 notes of it. And we're going to go up down with our right hand simply. And then we're going to add in our little finger on the 5th fret, 2nd string, just for one moment. So it's, that's the phrase, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with your right hand. And then you slide everything up, keep the same shape, slide it up 3 frets, a step and a half, up to the 8th fret, 3rd finger, the same thing. So this is a repeat. Slide up. And I hear his thumb in on the action. You don't have to worry about that, but if your thumb reaches over and you can grab it, I particularly hear it on the 2nd chord on the record. And what's happening here is the thumb is actually grabbing this low note, and this finger, the flesh of this finger and some of the thumb is muting this string so you don't hear it. If you can do that, great. If you can't, don't worry about it. Just aim for these 3 strings. But the thing about it is, if you're just grabbing these 3 strings, you want the flesh that's remaining from all your fingers that are hanging around to mute the strings you're not using. And that's a really cool thing to learn on guitar, on the electric, is that you can aim with your right hand, and if you happen to bump any of these strings, it's nice to have just your extra flesh kind of muting the strings that are not getting played. And that's kind of what I think all of us do. Then we reprise the intro and this walk up, which is walking up from an E flat to an E to an F chord, which we already learned. Go back and repeat. Then reprise the intro. Riff again. I'm going to finish out this lesson with a review, and remember, it's okay to play this kind of thing differently every time, because he certainly did. So we walk up, E flat, E to F. Walk up with thirds in the bass and the hammer-ons. Walk up again. Repeat again. Play the riff. C, B flat, and then F. Again, riff, F, high thing, and then C again, chromatic, into the G, we do that again, slide up, hope you enjoyed that lesson. Thanks so much for your support. Thanks for subscribing. Be sure to click the link for all the free private stuff, and I'll see you on the next one.